Welcome, everyone. I am Chris Gore here on a Wednesday afternoon for Hollywood on the Rocks. Today on the show, The D-Files Part 5 has just dropped. That's right, it's here, and Alan Ng, who's probably the reason we're late today, is because of Alan. He's here to talk all about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Plus, our report from WonderCon. Alan and I were in Anaheim for WonderCon 2024. We're going to tell you about it. Plus, director Rod Blackhurst will be here. His film Blood for Dust is out. We're going to talk to him near the end of the show, and a review of Quiet on the Set. The Max series has hit. Alan Ng has some thoughts. And we're going to Vegas. Lots going on. Strap in your comments, questions. I can't wait to get the show started with Alan because I always look forward to seeing Alan on Wednesday. Come on, let's go. Alan, just come on.
Alan.
Well, there he is.
Yeah, that's
finally.
That one's my favorite. I like that one.
You like that one?
I like that.
All right, well, that's good. I will say this, and I know there's been a lot of chatter online about this. I'm not super happy about the whole thing that people have started with this whole "you've been Ng." I'm just not super happy about it. Like, I don't really know Alan's opinion on things until we do the show.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like,
and you spill everything on the nooner. So.
Well, why do you think we're a little bit late today? Because we were talking after the show.
Yeah.
But hey,
the nooner ended 2 hours ago. And you're still late.
we're actually, you know what? I can announce this. We are moving the time of the nooner to 1 hour earlier. So we'll have a larger gap in between the shows, which is going to be good for everybody. So 9 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Central, noon on the East Coast. How about that?
Yeah.
The nooner is noon on the East Coast.
And so now the nooner is officially 4 hours long.
We had a long conversation after the show, and I think that's just going to work out best for everybody. But hey, I want to say hi to the over 500 people watching live on YouTube now. I want to welcome D. Goodhart has become a YouTube member. Thank you for that. And a ton of people are saying stuff that I just want to say thank you. So let's say thank you for supporting us. D. Goodhart, join us on Discord. And also join us at Vegas next week, Tuesday, April 9th, 7 p.m. at the Millennium Fandom Bar. There's still time to RSVP. So please RSVP and we will see you there. I have so much stuff to give away. It's going to be super fun. Super fun. Hey, and a quick super chat here from Nicholas Vargo for $4.99. Hail, Chris and Alan. Loved the new installment of the D-Files. The Death Wish art with the wish bags and the talking dog was perfect. Well, thank you, Nicholas Vargo. We appreciate it. That's awesome. That's awesome. Wait a second.
This will be the conflict we have about that subject for going forward.
Christopher Moonlight Productions. Productions.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Just talk when I talk. It's great.
Just go.
Yeah.
Just go.
Christopher Moonlight. I will say it is getting it's getting a bit out of hand where it's just, but I will have my revenge. Yeah. It's, I want to talk about this documentary. All right. Okay. Hey, Alan.
Yes.
When there's dead air and I'm trying to do something, you know what you could do?
Yeah, yeah.
You've been gored. That's what you get. That's what you get.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting there.
What, you didn't like it? You didn't
By the way, thanks for getting my Dune popcorn bucket back.
Oh, I can see that Kermit is having a good time. So for me, Dogman is a pass.
I have no idea what this story is about.
I told you the story.
I know. I still don't understand. Maybe I don't understand why. Why is this a movie?
But I told you the story, Alan. Like, what was? You've been gored. This is just gonna keep happening.
It just. And again, I still have no idea what the Dogman story is about.
I told you what it was about.
No, but it's so compelling. It made me.
First of all, I don't blame you for being like completely off on that. All right, let's go.
I mean, am I wrong? Am I wrong? Am I wrong in the sense of, you know, you want a movie to watch that you want to talk about afterwards and not feel like, oh, it was okay.
Well, there you go. Magnum Norse for 10. You've been gored.
So when you ignore what I say,
I'm not ignoring what you're saying. I'm saying I really enjoy like not knowing what you're going to talk about. Like I like that, but
well,
I like
if I ask a question, you can answer it.
I can answer the question. All right, we got stuff to do. Let's talk about. We got to talk about WonderCon because you and I were both there. Wait, just a second though.
What about Emma Stone?
I like Emma Stone
as MJ.
She didn't play MJ.
Who? Oh,
no, Gwen Stacy.
Who played
Gwen Stacy?
Oh, that's right. It was.
You've been gored. We're just gonna keep it going.
Look, I'll cop to the Gwen Stacy way. The others, I'm not sure about.
You know what? I don't care. I mean, neither of us is perfect in this. You know, that's why I love. First of all, love the chat. I love the chat. The chat keeps us honest. We're not between the two of us. We've got enough brain cells. Inged is greater than gored. We should just do a thing. Do you want to see more inged videos or more gored videos? Let's do a poll. We'll do a poll and we'll reveal the results after our WonderCon segment. Do you prefer inged or gored? And we'll see. Look, here's a comment here from Z. Says ignoring.
Ignoring, yes.
Ignoring.
Gore ignoring.
Gored or inged? Gored or inged? Which do you prefer? And let's see. We're gonna get there's almost 700 people watching live. Let's see who wins this poll. But Alan, you and I, we were actually at WonderCon, and I want to talk about it. I want to get your impressions before I show you some of the photos and whatnot. We hung out on Friday, and this was the funniest thing. I owed Alan a Dune popcorn bucket. I owed it, and I brought it. So Alan was carrying around the bucket as we were like in the Hilton bar, which was hilarious.
We displayed it. We let people take pictures with it.
It was definitely not a chick magnet. I'll say that, but it got attention, and it was the subject of a lot of, hey, can I take a picture with it? It was pretty funny. But what are your overall takeaways from WonderCon 2024?
Yeah, I mean, I only went Friday and I got there kind of late, but it was what I liked about it was there was plenty of room to walk around. No one was shoving me. No, it wasn't crowded, so I could go from booth to booth. And the great thing is they opened another section of the convention hall, which they don't normally open. So instead of 3 sections, there are 4 sections. And like I said, got there Friday, got there late, and I was able to walk through the entire thing. So it was amazing. That never happens at conventions for me.
Well, a couple of things and a tweet that I just put out. I want to show you because it includes pictures. And I'll just read this. It says, this year's WonderCon was sadly empty on a Saturday. I went back on Saturday, hung out with my buddy Aaron Sparrow, ran into a ton of other people I knew, Max von Priestley, a whole bunch of other people, and just sort of hung out in the Hilton bar. And I walked around. Like, I think I was there from like 3 until the convention hall closed at like 7. And it says, this year's WonderCon was sadly empty on a Saturday. In all my years of attending cons, I've never seen a convention of this size this empty. Possible reasons: holiday weekend, rain, bad economy, I think might be the biggest reason, frankly. and lack of major brands at the booth. Star Wars,
that's another reason.
no Marvel, no DC, no Funko, no major companies were there with displays. And they'll be like, here's Star Wars or here's this, nothing. And
IDW was there, and they had a very small booth, like a 2 booth setup.
Yeah, I'm going to show you the pictures, but part of my conclusion is that normies have kind of checked out of nerd culture. Here's some of the photos.
You're saying this is Saturday, because this looks like Friday.
Saturday, dude.
This looks like Friday.
Oh no, it was just as bad as Friday. We're like sitting there, Alan and I are walking around and we're seeing everything. We're like, oh, it's pretty empty, but whatever. It'll be packed on Saturday. I kept saying that's going to be packed on Saturday. This was Saturday at like 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. You never see that much cement. It's usually you're kind of fighting to get through, aisles and whatnot. I mean, this is what it was. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, not like, it just felt weird. I've just never seen. Now, it's not like there weren't like parts of it that were like, oh, there's a little clog on this aisle. But for 90+% of the con, empty. I'll go to my other here. There's other ones I put out.
By the way, did you go to any panels?
I didn't go to any panels, but I was told by Jason Delgado that the panels were packed. Here's just some other, just to give you a little color. I love that Grandpa Gaming actually basically did a logo of me. I have it. I'll show you what I got it. WonderCon wasn't a bust for me necessarily. I actually thought it was really fun to actually go and see a lot of you can actually see comic stuff, So I ended up getting that Godzilla -1. I'll show it to you. The Godzilla -1 was the only figure in the entire convention hall. So I got it. And then I got this gaming thing. It was from, I still had fun just because it's not filled with the chaos, right? The people, and the cosplay.
Oh, hey now.
Was pretty good. I gotta say, the cosplay that was there was pretty awesome. Love this. We saw them as we were walking out. That was really fantastic. So there was some other cosplay that was pretty good too. So look at this. You got the X-Men, you got old school Batman animated series, Dr. Freeze, Mr. Freeze, Avatar. Look at that. The ghosts.
Oh, hey.
They're kind of like every year. And then, you know what? Sexy cosplay is back, folks. Check this out. The woman who was Gamora was like Spitting Image. She was fantastic. So there you go. And someone with a Dune popcorn bucket. That was very popular. So anyways, what are more of your thoughts?
Yeah. To me, the fact that no brand was there told me everything. Like I said, IDW was the only recognizable brand comic book company. They basically had a basic setup covering 2 booths, and that was it. It was mostly artists, comic book shops, and various creators. But and then when I looked at the programming, I mean, I'm glad they're leaning hard into diversity.
I mean, you know what? I actually have no problem with any of the diversity panels. I think it's good.
Yeah, but when they're all diversity panels of some sort, that's
weren't all, but I did get invited to submit for a film threat panel at San Diego Comic-Con. They did invite me.
Okay.
I hope if I just get one panel, and maybe if we can get press badges for San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
I mean, it's too expensive. For WonderCon, I didn't get a room. I just drove down.
Mm-hmm.
I paid $50 for parking one day because I'm maybe not the brightest bulb in the bunch.
Yeah, but I paid $10 for mine. So.
Yes, let's not get into it. One of us is smart, and one of us paid $50 for parking. But I'll show you my what I got. I got the coolest thing. At some point, Alan, you and I are going to game. Mm-hmm. I picked this up. It's called the Pi Station, and it's like sort of a mini old school, like first gen PlayStation, but it has every game. It says 16,000 total games on a 2 terabyte drive. And it's, I love it. HDMI out. And it actually has one of my first game systems I bought was the Odyssey 2, and it has all the Odyssey 2 games, including a game that I loved as a kid called Cosmic Conflict, because it had TIE fighters in it. And then, of course, I got this. Alan, you were there. You're the one that convinced me to get it. It's the Godzilla -1, and it's the same one that the director was carrying around at the Oscars. So I did.
And yet to be unboxed, apparently.
I haven't unboxed it yet. I got to find a space for it. But I'm super happy that I was able to pick it up. So there you go. Bottom line is, I think that this is a reflection of the culture, in the sense that as you see the diminishing box office for superhero films, it is reflected in interest in nerd stuff by normies. That's why I think it was down. Look at the box office for all those movies. Look at the attendance at WonderCon. You can blame the holiday weekend, and I actually think that was a factor. Holiday weekend, rain, economy, huge,
right?
Huge
but the rain had nothing to do with the fact that the big studios weren't there, or that the big brands weren't there.
Right.
You know, I mean, to me, that was kind of the highlight, walking through their booths, even at WonderCon. I do remember maybe 5 years ago that it was only DC now showing up to WonderCon, and then even they pulled out.
Yeah, it's really disconcerting. You know, I'm sad to see it, because I ran into some friends of mine that have booths and they have small businesses, and I don't think anybody was doing well. The people that were doing well, frankly, were the comic people that they invited. Apparently, from what I heard, I spoke to some people, they were giving booths away for free to small comic retailers at the last minute. There was one hall that was almost 90% only comics. I loved it. You could actually talk to people about comics. It was fantastic. So, look, I love conventions. Maybe actually whittling it down to hardcore fans is the better way to go. So,
did the rain affect the cosplay out in the plaza?
Yes, because there's this right outside WonderCon. There's this plaza with a fountain, and they always do, like, we're doing the Star Wars meetup, and then it's the Marvel meetup, and then it's the DC meetup, and you meet up. If you have a costume that's in a certain, brand or whatever, they'll just all do the photography at once. And that wasn't happening because of the rain. It wasn't happening. I mean, it is what it is.
You know what wasn't crowded in Orange County on Sunday?
What?
It was our new Bass Pro Shop down in
what?
Vermont. Yeah, we drove by. We knew it was opening soon. The Bass Pro Shop has opened up, and I took my daughter and her boyfriend there, and we spent a good hour and a half at the Bass Pro Shop.
Well, that's on topic.
And it was crowded. It was crowded. And like WonderCon, it was diverse too.
Should I change the banner to Bass Pro Shop?
Yeah, we should. Let's do that. We're focusing now on hunting and camping on Film Thread. We're
going to get to the D files, but before we get to the D files, let's look at your comments and questions here, starting with 50 Shades of Grayson for 2. Disney stock price got gored as well. I don't know if you listened to most of the stockholder investor call. I listened to it after it was sort of at the end of the nooner. We went through it. Like, we should have actually probably kept going, but we went through and looked at everything, and wow. I just feel like nothing's going to change. And the stock price dropped after. Usually the stock price goes up because, we've made some announcements. They announced nothing that was spectacular. They showed a little bit of, they showed like the new Pixar movie and a couple other things, and none of it was impressive. It was kind of sad, the lack of announcements that they had. So we're going to get to that. Ron Enriquez says, might be a good thing that normies have checked out of nerd culture. These conventions haven't been the same since movie studios and corporations started dominating. That's true. And Oliver Lavery Farag said, Gore just got parkinged. Well, I justify it. I'm like, look, the parking was expensive, but I'm right next to the convent. Here, can I let you in a little secret? I'll let you in secrets. So there's the hotel bar and drinks are like $15. Okay. You're going to pay $11 for a Coors Light. But what I do is I bring my own in a little, and like a backpack. It's filled with ice and a little sort of cooler liner. And then I just bring in roadies. I probably saved almost $100 not buying drinks. My only thing is, to my friends that don't do this, I'm not your bar. You can bring your own, Aaron Sparrow. You can also do what I do. In fact, even ask me what I like and bring your own. Aaron was fun to hang out with. We had a good time. You fuck that bitch for $199. Did I get that right?
I don't know. Say it again.
Alan, what is it?
I'll try to do it in the original dialect, but you fuck that bitch. We're only 20 minutes in. I mean,
that's getting clipped. That's getting clipped, and we're
20 minutes in, so we're getting demonetized for this.
Can we check our monetization live? I don't know if we can do that. Yeah, but WonderCon ultimately, it is what it is. Let's stop the poll now. Let's stop the poll now. Hey, no, what?
I'm just saying next year. What do you think it'll be like next year?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I actually think that the economy is not going to get better quickly.
Yeah.
That's what I believe.
I mean, it'll happen, but I think we're going to see the same thing next year because it'll be on Easter weekend again. They always do it Easter weekend. That's when WonderCon happens. I
didn't even realize that. So maybe that's not a factor actually.
But well, it is a factor. Because that's why I couldn't go on Sunday.
Sunday. But Sunday's
that's always been my problem
attended. All right, let's check out the poll results. We're getting the poll results.
It's in the starred chat.
Oh, it's in the starred chat. Let me put that up. It says, do you prefer Inged or Gored? Poll complete. Over 300 votes. 53% prefer Inged and 46% preferred Gored.
The people have spoken.
Look, the United States is not the only place where results of these types of things are messed with. I call foul. I want to recount. All right, couple more chat comments and questions. We're going to get to your review. We have a review that Alan has, and then we're going to the D-Files Part 5. Let's go. Pilgrim Media, I love and respect your silliness, guys. Thank you for that, Pilgrim Media. And Helios ending for 5 says, the other day you guys said we look too much into movies and go out of our way to find wokeness. I disagree. Ironically, I think we've been conditioned to see that stuff. Mm-hmm. I was paying attention to race and gender a lot less before the woke era. Just saying. No, I agree with what you just said.
I absolutely agree with that. Yes.
I absolutely agree with what you just said. I'm saying you can take it too far. You got to take a step back and go, well, wait a second. Is it really that bad? I don't know. So, but yeah, no, you're right. It's almost like you become like I don't know, just like it's a knee-jerk reaction. Mm-hmm. And it's just because there's this hyper awareness of certain types of things. And so that's, and so you are right. You are right to feel that way. Yeah. So Helios Ending, actually, you think I disagree. I actually agree with what you're saying. All right. We're going to pivot real quickly to talk about another topic and something really important that needs to be said.
Hello, everyone. This is AI Arnold. We would like you to hit the like button and please subscribe. We need to get the boys to 169,000. Isn't that right, Alan?
69. Thank you, Governor.
All right. Quiet on the Set is the documentary series that's currently on Max. It is about the early days of Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
and potentially inappropriate behavior that took place on the set. I have not seen it. Alan has seen the entire series. Alan, what did you think?
Yeah, I like this one. I think obviously it's about Dan Schneider. It's 4 episodes, and I'll admit I've heard a lot of these stories about Dan Schneider for ever since basically the Me Too movement started. But this really digs deep into it.
Now, who is Dan Schneider?
Dan Schneider was he was basically the golden child at Nickelodeon. He did iCarly. He did the all that. He kind of started with all that, making it kind of the kids' Saturday Night Live, and he was making a lot of money for Nickelodeon. And with all that money came a lot of power. He had the network basically gave him the keys to the kingdom, and with that power, he basically abused that power. A lot of it, was to play out. You'll see in the series, a lot of it was to play out his kind of sexual fantasies about feet. He had a major feet fetish. The things he did to Ariana Grande is just kind of creepy, and it wasn't, it was like every episode of every show he did had some sexual content in it that he would deny, but you knew it was kind of there, and then he with this power, he just started using it. He started psychologically torturing his cast, his guests, his coworkers. A lot of them quit. A lot of them went into drugs and alcohol. I mean, the guy was just a monster. But that's only part of the problem. There's one episode devoted to basically 3 pedophiles that Nickelodeon had hired and was working, and had like some PA who would escort children around. He'd get to know the kids, and then he'd send them D-pics, basically. And then there was one person known as the Pickle Man. He was a dialect coach that Dan Schneider had hired. And one day the guy was fired for no reason at all, and arrested. And it was alleged that he had assaulted one of the cast members in Nickelodeon. But because of everything, no one knew who it was. And in the series here, it was revealed, and in fact, they interviewed him. It was Drake Bell, and Drake Bell was abused often by this guy, and he goes through that whole story, and it is just sad. It is sad that the thing that kept running through my mind while watching this thing is that there are evil people in the world. And it amazes me how far they were able to carry their evil throughout their career. Harvey Weinstein had a long career. Dan Schneider had a long career. And then you hear these stories of people who are alleged to have done these things, who didn't do these things, who seem to get it worse than these guys who actually did it. And it is frustrating to me that that we have this system in place that rewards the villains and basically punishes the innocent sometimes. And this show just shows you that but this whole story basically ended a couple of years ago after the whole Me Too movement.
Right.
And so it's sad that it continues on like this.
Yeah, it's a series that would be difficult for me to watch as a father to a daughter and a son. It is a weird thing. Like I remember when my kids were that age, and we watched Nickelodeon. It all seemed kind of innocent at the time. I don't remember the shows. We didn't watch live action shows as much. My kids were just not so interested in that. They liked the cartoons. Yeah. They liked animation. I found those shows kind of always to be kind of dumb, juvenile humor. I mean, which makes a lot of sense considering the target demo. But the clips that have come out, like the one with, is it Ariana Grande trying to squeeze juice out of a potato?
Yeah.
Which makes no sense. The pickle guy, the clips that have leaked, it's just, this is a show that like just would be difficult for me to watch. So I didn't watch it. I'm happy that you checked it out, Alan. I don't know that it's something that I could watch. And when I kind of see the situation there, like how did how is there not one person that just said, well, wait. We're dealing with kids and kids have goofy sense of humor. And that's okay, right? But where it went off the rails is this guy kind of out in the open being the way he was.
Yeah.
Seemed just very, very disconcerting.
Well, yeah. And again, kids are involved. I mean, you would think that you would be more overly protective when you have a show full of kids. I mean, you talk a lot about your time at with Larry Flint and the protocols and the behavior that was expected of you walking through the offices. And you know, you knew that Larry Flint went over and above trying to keep a professional environment. And
this is in the early 90s. Yeah. So just for people that don't know, I wrote comedy and humor for LFP, Larry Flint Publications, which is a Hustler magazine, and way back in the day. But it was so, like, I mean, in like a good way, corporate rules based. This is how you conduct yourself, all that. And, you know, we did come up with like wild, weird jokes and whatnot, but that was a completely different audience. Perfect for you to bring it up here as we're talking about this, Alan.
but the thing is that
I got ghosting. I got ghosting right there.
The point is that he went above and beyond in terms of he knew the environment that his publication created, and he needed a professional environment to make sure everyone was safe. And that wasn't happening here with children.
And that was way before. This is like the early 90s. This is way before any stuff. Like it was just like that was the way. It was always like super professional. Then when I went in the traditional corporate world, people were horrible. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, that's weird. So this one company that you would think would be awful isn't. And then in the just generic corporate space, people are horrible human beings. So not surprising. But do you recommend it? Do you recommend the show? I do.
To me, the biggest thing that came out of it is, you know, this idea of fame and the promise of fame to these children and how you can abuse that. And it, you know, we see it in the D-Files. It's like it's the privilege to work for Disney, the privilege to be on Nickelodeon series. And if you don't act and if you don't do what the director says or the people in charge says, you could lose it all. And that's what a lot of these kids, these children were dealing with, because they were paying the bills for their families at this time. And if they said no to doing something that Dan had requested, they could have been kicked off the show. And in fact, kids were kicked off the show because of that. Kids were kicked off because their parents expressed concern over what their children were doing on camera. And they were kicked off, and they, you know, and it's this power that happens that that is just rampant in Hollywood, and we're seeing it come to fruition now for purely political reasons.
Right. Well, it's a hard thing for me to watch. I'm happy that this has come out. What's sad is that I'm sure that there are adults now that have memories of watching Nickelodeon when they were a kid, and that's all been dashed. It's like another thing completely destroyed. You know, the magic is gone. A couple quick comments here before we pivot to some real dark magic. That's the death of Disney. Let's go. Lucas C says, also how Brian Peck was charged and did 16 months for raping Drake.
Yeah, that's who it was.
Then immediately rehired to work on Zach and Cody. So there you go. Slim Jim 491, who's also a member, says the Drake Bell episode is so hard to watch. The way Brian Peck wedged a gap between Drake and his parents should be eye-opening for every parent.
Yeah. It was scary because Drake Bell's dad was his manager, and Brian Peck was able to put a wedge between them. And all the time the father was like, don't trust him. And then all the things he did.
I just want to say shout out to Valiant Renegade. I was watching Valiant Renegade. I was watching your stream before I started the show. And thank you for that. And thank you for the raid. We've got now 1,500 plus people watching us live, which is perfect timing for us to start to talk about the D-Files. So thank you, Raiders.
And by the way, great coverage of today's.
Yes. Very comprehensive. Very comprehensive. So appreciate that. All right. Time to pivot then.
Yeah, let's do this.
Pivot. We're going to pivot. And you know what? By popular demand, by popular demand, we're just gonna we'll play one more of these.
What about Emma Stone
I like Emma Stone.
as MJ?
She didn't play MJ.
Who? Oh, no,
Gwen
who did play?
Stacy.
Who played?
Gwen Stacy.
Oh, that's right. It was.
You've been gored. I clicked the wrong one. I clicked.
You have
this
too
is the
much
one I
power.
meant.
This will be the conflict we have about that subject for going forward.
Christopher
Kids
Moonlight
deserve better.
Productions. Christopher
Sorry,
Moonlight
kids deserve-
Productions.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Just talk when I talk.
Fine.
It's great.
Okay. Just go.
Yeah.
Just go. I
Christopher
understand.
Moonlight. You know what? It's all in good fun, folks. I know Alan won the poll. It's all in good fun. Let's talk about it, Alan. You have been leading the charge with the D files. Wait, I want to get this correct because it's the D files. The D files.
The defunct.
So, I've got to get it correct here.
Yes.
So we can get into it. For some reason,
from Valiant Renegade, again, thank you, $5. We ended the show previewing D-Files 5 before we all knew you were on. So yeah, we're gonna get right into it.
We're gonna get right into it. So let's get into. You know what? I don't have the video on my. I'm gonna change it really quickly. We're gonna start. I don't.
Is it not there?
No, the video's not here. Oh, just a minute. Here we are with the D files. Alan Ng, you've been leading the charge with Disney. Current and former employees of Disney have reached out to you and provided you with information about the inner workings of Disney. This particular chapter of the D-Files, part 5, I will bring it up quickly. We will leave a link in the description for you to read the entire story. We're not going to read the entire story, but I'll share screen for a second here. Alan, give us a preview.
It is on the front page of Film Threat right now.
Yeah, if you just go to filmthreat.com, it's the first story on the page, but we'll provide, because we post about like 4 or 5 stories a day minimally, so things kind of get buried. We'll put a link in the description, but here it is. It's the lead character of Wish with a death wish type image. I don't know. I love it.
By the way, great work, Glenn Nuccio. I love this.
Yeah. But tell us the focus of this edition of the D-Files.
Yeah. So in honor of Wish coming to Disney Plus today, it was appropriate that we talk about Wish. And basically, Wish is what started the D-Files in the first place. Back in November, before Thanksgiving, before it came out, did a review of this, basically called Wish the worst animated feature in Disney's 100-year history. And I stand by it, and I have the receipts. And so when we did this, a lot of animators saw the video, reached out to us, said, "You have no idea what's going on in Disney." And that's kind of how the birth of the D-Files happened. I will say, though, a lot of the things that I said about Wish early on, I soon found was wrong. And I'll bring up 2 of those instances right now. One is that Wish took 4 months to make. It probably took 6 months. And from what animators have told me, that's pretty standard for Disney and the animation community today. It used to be 3 years to make a hand-drawn animation. With computers now, it's down to 6 months, 4 to 6 months. And it was what was unique about this in terms of the time frame was it did feel like it was there was a late start. It was the production staff who reached out to us and said normally they have a year to work on any Disney animated feature. They're the ones who had 4 months to work on it, and they had to rush. And the conditions, the hours were long, which is fairly normal, but a lot of the perks that they offered when they were rushing to get Strange World out was taken away. And it got to the point where the production staff have finally voted to unionize because they were not part of the union at that time. They are now. So I got that wrong, and the other thing that I got wrong was that the sense that I was getting was because this movie was rushed, that led to the poor quality of the animation in Wish. Because if you watch Wish, it is badly animated, and the video I did goes frame by frame. We do a lot of screenshots where we talk about why the look of this movie looks so bad, and I basically said, look, these guys were so rushed. The talent there was so poor because they were bringing in all these Tumblr artists that this is the reason why Wish was the worst animated feature ever. And I was wrong. And I was wrong by a country mile. The look, the bad design, the bad art, it was intentional. In fact, it came straight from the top. And we talk about it. It was Jennifer Lee, president of Walt Disney Animation, producer of Wish, the co-writer of Wish. They made decisions early on that were bad decisions and couldn't be fixed as it went down the road. And what the D files here goes into is why and what happened. And basically, let's put it this way. If you read all 5 D files, there's a progression. When John Lasseter was fired, Jennifer Lee was put in charge. And we saw that it was time to bring equity to the animators. 50-50 equity. 50-50 women and men animators. And so they hired, they went in league with women in animation, and they brought in more female animators. Because there wasn't enough, they then went out into social media like Tumblr and started grabbing artists from there. These artists then come in, and they didn't care. They wanted the title of working at Disney. They didn't care about anything else. They didn't care about the traditions of Disney. They didn't care about learning the craft. And what wound up happening was, because of this new power balance, the old white guys, the veteran animators, they were slowly being kicked out, either out of frustration over the quality of the work, or they were kicked out because someone overheard them say something that was reported to HR, and then now life was hell for them. Some of the animators, when they talked about working with Jennifer Lee, it was very simple. She either liked you or didn't like you. If she liked you, you were given the best scenes to animate in the movies. If she didn't like you, you were given the crappy scenes. And for the most part, you were demoralized to the point of, where you didn't want to work there anymore because your work was not appreciated anymore. There was an account where people would come up and talk about Wish and the decision she was making, and kind of say, "Hey, this is not the way to go," and those people were fired or just kind of brushed aside. So here's the thing. When I was writing this early on this week, grabbing on my notes, it was all these Disney artists saying, "This is why this movie looks so bad," and they kind of listed it down, and I put it in the article. For example, here, can you scroll?
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you need?
Scroll to one of the images from Wish.
Yeah, right there.
Okay, so right here. So, excuse me. So one thing you'll notice about this is it's flat. The background is sharp and clear. Oh no, the background is sharp and clear. You get basically it's depth of field. You get no sense of depth of field in this image. There's the star kind of going across. You have no idea of dimension, and the idea here from Jennifer Lee and the directors Chris Buck and Fawn Vera Sunthorn was that they wanted to replicate classic Disney movies. And so what they decided to do with Wish was they were going to make a 2D movie using 3D technology. And that's what we got here. So the background's all flat. You can see here how far is Star compared to, Asha there in the depth of field. That those birds, they look flat. They look like they're all on the same plane. This was all intentional. Also, because original animation was line drawn, you can see Asha here. She's drawn with lines and not with kind of the 3D modeled characters you see in current Disney 3D animation. and because she's young, there's fewer lines, but when you get to her older father, there's a lot of lines, and it just looks really bad. Scroll down. Sorry, go to the third page.
Third page, you got it. Okay.
Yeah, and go to the wish picture I have there.
I got it right there.
Yeah, there it is. Look at that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the majority of the film is shot in this kind of medium shot.
Yeah,
but look at the background. Look at the building in the background. Look at the people in the foreground, and then look in the middle there with Asha and the dancers. It's just flat. And again, this was all. These were decisions made early on, and when animators, veteran animators, would kind of call them on it, saying basically what I'm telling you now, she would just shut them down and say the decision has already been made. And so
really,
yeah. And so when I talked to other animators, this was the response I got. I go, I asked people who actually worked on Wish, did you see Wish when it hit the theater? And for the most part, all of them told me no. And some had even said, we didn't even take our children to see this movie during cast member screenings. Because people there knew how bad this movie was. And the reason I'm so confident in saying what I'm saying is because 2 nights ago, I stumbled across the Wish making of documentary that will appear in the DVDs. Mm-hmm. And everything I've been telling you about how bad this movie is, Jennifer Lee and the directors lauded as how proud they were to have made these decisions. One more thing in here that I want to. Okay, and then we had an insider who was at some of the test screenings of Wish. So they would go in. They were basically shown the movie as is. The first screening was in February, which is when the real animation started for this movie. 5% of the animation was done. The rest was storyboard animatics. That's what people saw. The moderators of this test screening, the only thing they were concerned about was, did you catch the Easter eggs? Did you catch all the Disney Easter eggs that were laced throughout the film? When the test audience talked about how they were confused by story and confused by the characters, they didn't care. They wanted to know, did you see the Easter eggs? Did you get that Asha's friends were the 7 dwarves? Did you get this?
Okay. I didn't know that until you just told me just now.
Exactly.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So here's where it gets better. In the second test screening, which happened a month later, more of the animation was finished. And they brought in a Disney adult audience. You got into the screening because you said that you went to Disneyland several times a year. Same thing happened. When the moderator asked them, did you catch, how many Disney references did you catch? The answer was they caught 5. They caught 5 of them.
Do you have an estimate on the number of Easter eggs that are in?
There were a lot. In fact, if you go through the making of documentary, it goes through quite a bit of them. I'll give you the insane examples. Okay, so Asha is supposed to be the fairy godmother. All right. Mm-hmm. Well, in Cinderella, the fairy godmother turned a pumpkin into a carriage. So they thought they were clever by lacing Asha's dress with pumpkin seeds. And not only that,
it stood out to me so much.
No, what they gave her an anklet made of pumpkin seeds. Did you see that? Did you notice that when you watched this movie? I mean,
okay. And the Disney adult thing is real. There's a lot of people that are Disney adults here.
Yeah. So. But the fact that they would point this out. Okay. So now here's the funniest one. So of course, we're living in a time where culture and diversity is so important. And of course, in Wish, they brought in cultural consultants to work on it. So in the making of documentary, they mentioned that Asha, her robe was her rain poncho, whatever, was blue like the fairy godmother, but her dress is purple. And when it was brought up to the cultural consultant said, "Oh, yes, you're very perceptive because purple is the color of North Africa representing hope." And ironically, Asha's name means hope. That's how brilliant you guys are at Disney are. This is what the cultural consultant tells them. So I decided, hey, why don't I do a quick internet search and find out, is the color purple in North Africa the symbol of hope? Well, no. The purple in North Africa of that time represented prosperity and royalty. When the Phoenicians would sell things throughout the Mediterranean, purple was considered the most valuable color, the most royal and regal color. And so it was meant to show that you were rich or that you were part of royalty. And so that got me to think that these cultural consultants will tell you anything you need to hear to make you feel good about yourself. And they probably didn't even know. And that's kind of the mess that's going on in the storytelling here at Disney. Look, we talk about it over and DEI has done nothing to improve or evolve the art form of filmmaking and animation. In fact, I will claim over and over and over again that DEI has done everything to regress and degrade and devolve art today. And this is an example of it. Wish is supposed to be the 100th year anniversary celebration of the Walt Disney Company, starting way back when, before Snow White. And this is the 100th year representation of all they've done. And they've regressed. And they produced a piece of animation that Walt would roll over in his grave had he seen it.
It's just the one thing that you always that the Walt Disney Company could always point to is innovation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why they call
you used to be able to say that you're right.
You can't say it now, but remember just like the whole idea of an Imagineer. Look at the just whether it's everything from the architecture to the hidden Mickeys, which everyone knows about if you go to Disneyland, to so many aspects of the Disney brand is about imagining things that are impossible and making them possible. Is actually creating magic, not just on the screen in terms of movies, but in the theme parks themselves. And it seems like everything has been so lackluster. To me, I noticed it when Galaxy's Edge, going to Galaxy's Edge for the first time. I wrote an article on filmthreat.com. Just look up Galaxy's Edge. I did a whole thing of 5 ways to improve Galaxy's Edge. And I go through like everything that was wrong. Just as a theme park fan, I used to have an annual pass to Disneyland. For years I had it. And it's when you just see, and it starts with little things, right? The details that they don't get right. And a lot of it is, I don't think a lot of knowledge is being passed down. I don't think there's a lot of mentoring, or not. One, there's not a lot of respect for the past. Let's just be honest. And then there's also not, there's just a profound lack of knowledge being passed down, where everything else is bland. Wish is not only the worst in the 100 years history of all the Disney animated movies. And I like some of the ones that are considered not great, like Bedknobs and Broomsticks, or, some of the other ones were like, they're like, I look back on them fondly because
there have been misses. Absolutely. There have been misses along the way.
There have been misses. Not everything is a home run, but there were at least certain things that they had in place where it's like the quality factor was there. This is just, it's beyond a falling off a cliff. This is just worse than you could possibly imagine. What is going to be in the D-Files Part 6, which is going to be a couple of weeks from now?
Yeah, we're actually, most likely it's going to be about Vancouver, the Moana 2 and the Vancouver studio. And we'll kind of get into a little bit of that. When you talk about innovation, Disney and Imagineering was always on the forefront of innovation. The last few times that I've been on that Park Place and with Valiant and the gang, Jonas, I'm going to miss everybody. So with that Park Place crew, the stories that always come up recently have been about things not working at the theme park. They put in installation, they put in a walkway where there are lights embedded within the cement. They don't work. And so it's not only the lack of innovation that has been missing from Disney, It's the idea of excellence. It's the idea of seeking perfection. It's the idea of being inspiring. That's gone now. You know, the fact that more and more things at Disney parks are not working, are breaking down. You have a dragon over at Fantasmic that blew up
on fire. Yeah, it's that's across the board in a lot of industries.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, folks. You can't couch this. You got to go, but there is a general malaise and laziness and not a dedication to quality or pride in your work at all levels. Absolutely. This is happening.
And it's not like this didn't happen at Disneyland in the past. It just didn't happen at this frequency.
Right.
You know, there were, like, I remember the Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland, one of the greatest rides ever made. You know, and there's 3 doors that you can go through. Well, they always go down the middle one from now on. And I get it. You know, ambition doesn't always pay off. But again, it never happened at the frequency, at the rate that it's happening today. And I think a lot of it has to do with the veterans who cared about perfection, who cared about excellence, are gone, and they're replaced with people who aren't up for the task, and they're the ones being put in charge. And that's what's happening here. These people who are in charge and working for Wish and at Disney, they're not up for the task, and they're accepting the idea that well, we got it done and that's good enough. But no, you need to take it a step further, and because that was the Disney tradition.
All right. I'm looking forward to part 6, Alan, of the D-Files. Let's go to your comments and questions here, starting with super chats. Here we go. Want to thank Lester San Jose, the septic tank, for becoming a YouTube member. When you become a member, you get access to our Discord and to exclusive videos that can only be seen on the Film Threat members page. A Serious Man, look for 2. Thank you for that. I will see you in Vegas, A Serious Man. I have a DVD for you, a Blu-ray. If you come to the Film Threat meetup on April 9th in Vegas at the Millennium Fandom Bar at 7 p.m., I'll see y'all there. I have enough Blu-rays to give everyone who's attending. It's a secret movie, and you'll find out. Jay Ward for 5. Hit the like button, but let Disney and the algorithm know we are alive and we aren't done yet. Please smash that like button. It helps us get the word out. And here we go here. Alan, can you read this one?
From you fuck that bitch. I can't. Chazem Godzilla. I can't read that.
The translation in Vietnamese is it's haven't seen Godzilla yet. Should it be a waste? Is it a waste to go see Godzilla X Kong?
Yeah, well, no one cares what I think about Godzilla X Kong. I didn't like it, but people are seeing it anyway, so go see it.
Yeah. More comments here going on with your comments. The Avengers Rising. Rushing has ruined the film, as well as the writers and executives' disrespect of Walt Disney. From Rumble, Adelis24 says, identity over merit, the Disney way. And I'd rather see Death Wish, says Davina Duckworth. And Alan, hey, can you, I gotta do something real quick. Can you keep reading down the chats?
Sure.
I'll be right back.
Sure. In fact, here, I want to show you, this is a picture that I shot from that documentary. Let me grab it here. But so in the documentary, the inspiration for Wish, the director decided he's going to take a wall and put up all the great Disney classics. And someone's about to get fired because a certain Disney classic got accidentally appeared on the wall. And I don't know if you can tell what it is. No, I guess you can't. But if you look right there, what is that? How did that get there? How did that get? Someone's getting fired. But here we go. Let me stop this for a second and we'll continue on. Thanks for everyone. Let's see. Piston Burner says, note that it's incompetent management and broken organization who let individuals like this ruin the results of the company. Absolutely. From Rumble, from our good friend AD Ellis. When entertainment merely references itself to entertain people, creativity has been truly lost. Yeah, I mean, they were hitting hard those Easter eggs. From Sasquatch 55. Hey, by the way, your movie's coming out, Sasquatch Sunset. DEI equals didn't earn it.
Oh, I'm seeing Sasquatch Sunset actually Friday.
I got the
invite.
invite.
So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah.
I've only heard great things. Let's continue because something came in as we were going through this. Something came in that we have to talk about. And there's more than 600 people on Rumble. Please smash that like button. Smash the Rumble button. Smash the like button, everybody. We're going to get through some more here. Helios ending for 5 says, hate to break it to you guys, but none of the letters in DEI stand for art. And Justin Channels says, bravo, Alan, bravo. Terry LL or Terry I says, I care what Alan thinks, a definite influencer. And these stories, I've suggested this to Alan. Zaku Pride says, these stories need to be adapted into a book. You thought about that, Alan?
I've thought about it. I need to talk to more people. And
it's you got to talk to more people, and you have to talk to more people on the record so the book has credibility. Otherwise, people are going to pick it apart. Yeah, it's just
it'll. I mean, I'm definitely writing this like a dirt sheet, just so it gets us out of trouble. But I'd hate to write a book that was basically a dirt sheet book.
No, I'm telling you, you turn this into a book. It needs to be. You've got to plant that flag into a book. We'll talk about it offline. I think you could even do a Kickstarter or some, crowdfunding thing to get a book going. But it's not only in a book, but it's got to be verified.
Yeah, and that's the problem. That's the problem. We're getting stories that I can't post. And
some of the best stories are the ones we can't be public about because what it would do is it would out the people involved. It would betray the source. We don't want anyone to lose their jobs because of a story on Film Threat. Revan's father read recently that Lego Wish sets are shelf warmers, even overseas. Nobody wants them. Doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me. Here we go. Last question on this, and we're going to pivot to a topic that is of interest to all of you. So hang tight. All Twisted Up says, Alan, are the people who you spoke to still working at Disney?
Some do, most don't.
Yeah. So, but a lot of the people who don't are former Disney employees who can probably speak more freely.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And John Neeson says, easiest way to cut money for corporations is to replace staff with less than experience. It happened to the media in 2008 and has happened to Disney in the past few years.
Yeah. One interesting thing about Wish is how much money it lost. It earned $60 million domestic. Weirdly, it earned about $150 million international. But the thing is that Disney doesn't get a huge stake of that international box office. And the estimated is that Wish lost $200 million.
Justin Channels, who's a member, says Iger solidifying his position today is not going to make any counter narrative likelier to be said publicly or freely. Yeah. And then,
by the way, I was gonna say I bought this was at Vons, at my local Vons. There's
marked up from $40 to $9.99. It's the Wish goat.
Yep. And remind you, the movie came out 4 months ago.
Yeah. Shout out to Sin's Corner. We are going to pivot for a second because we have some breaking news. I'm being texted from someone in the industry about something that just dropped, and we need to talk about it. An article in the Hollywood Reporter, why it's a brutal time to be a TV writer. I was listening to you, Alan, and I was skimming through this story. We're going to get into it. And one of the quotes from the story, it's from the Hollywood Reporter. I'm scared why it's a brutal time to be a TV writer. This friend of mine who is in the industry is texting me live during the show, and I'm going to give you a quote from the article. We're going to go through the article, but I want to give you this quote right up top. There's a quote in this article that says, "I'm a gay and a woman of color, and I can't get a job." And my source says, now that they can't get hired, they have no problem saying that out loud. Dumb jerks that's not exactly what was said, but there you go. Let's read through this story, Alan. And my apologies for the ads that appear on this page. The end of peak TV has ushered in an era of contraction with fewer buyers. Farewell, the CW, and fierce competition for the few shows that are staffing. People are in total survival mode. Emily Cheever's career was just getting started. The 36-year-old began her TV writing career in 2020 as a writer's production assistant and script coordinator for Legends of Tomorrow before getting hired as a staff writer for ABC's The Company You Keep. After the drama that marked Milo Ventimiglia's follow-up to This Is Us was canceled following a single season shortly after the Writers Guild strike began last May, Cheever had no job to return to when it ended in September. Like scores of other writers of all levels and backgrounds, she didn't know when or where her next paycheck will come from. People are scared. I'm trying to go back to bartending, she says. A lot of people are wondering what other jobs they can do. I'm close with old showrunners and they're supportive of me, but they're looking for jobs. Literally, the showrunners that she worked with are also looking for jobs. Across the TV landscape, buying has cooled dramatically, and many writers now find themselves in situations like Cheever, with opportunities shrinking as the industry shifts from peak TV to an era of contraction and austerity. A wave of downsizing that kicked off last year when the priorities of Wall Street changed from a focus on subscriber growth to profitability. Oh, that's interesting. So instead of subscriber growth, we'd like to make money? That's nuts. As streamers like Netflix and Max right-size their slates, the broadcast pipelines for Peacock, Hulu, and Paramount Plus are drying up. A decade ago, broadcasters collectively ordered as many as 98 pilots. Today, that number can be counted on one hand. So a drop of 90%, if we assume that number is 5, so from 98 to 5, from a decade ago, 98 pilots to 5 pilots. There are so few shows, this is a quote, there are so few shows that are still being greenlit, so few new pilots that are being ordered, and fewer spots in writers' rooms, says Shannon Corbeil, a finalist for the Disney TV Writing Fellowship. It was put on hold during the WGA strike. The staffing positions available are going to more seasoned writers, and the pilots that are being purchased are being bought from proven writers. Brandon K. Hines spent more than a decade working in support staff jobs and as a script coordinator on Comedy Central's Aquafina is Nora from Queens and Amazon's Harlem. He was staffed as a writer for the first time on Showtime's Fellow Travelers. Hines was homeless and had been bouncing between camping. This is a writer, a script coordinator that worked on a Comedy Central show and an Amazon show, and staffed on a Showtime show, and now is homeless, bouncing between camping. So are you saying that the people on the street that are camping in Los Angeles aren't just people struggling with addiction? It's also people out of work. Hines was homeless and struggling, bouncing between camping, couch surfing with friends, and the occasional Airbnb, before he turned to driving for DoorDash and Grubhub after his 16-week writing job on the Showtime limited series concluded before the strikes began. A potential writing job on a Weeds revival he lined up before the strike evaporated during the work stoppage, as Showtime dropped plans for the series, sources say. Going on, Hines says, you need multiple gigs a year to make a livable wage. Hines says, noting that competition for lower-level writing jobs has intensified as mid-level scribes and showrunners are increasingly putting themselves up for the few shows that are currently staffing. It's the craziest time to be a working writer in Hollywood. You can work on a semi-hit show, but still can't afford to make a living wage. It's pretty intense. Some of that has to do with the economy and the standard of living in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I'm going to read more, but Alan, your thoughts midstream here, and we'll go to your comments in a moment.
I mean, sadness is what comes over. The thing I keep thinking about is how broken the Hollywood system is.
Yeah.
How broken it has been. How during the pandemic they put all their money in streaming. They put a lot of money in streaming, like a lot, and all that money they put in streaming didn't go to writers and actors, and so they went on strike. And now that they're back, quote unquote back, the system is broken, and you can't sue a company, you can't sue a Hollywood studio to make more content, to do more shows, and this is the sad reality of it. Again, I'll keep harping on why we cover independent film, because they're unencumbered by all this politics and all this DEI. The money may not be there. You're not gonna become rich doing it, but there is money, and that's why we promote independent film. And it just saddens me, but it's kind of like, I see her going, I feel helpless. I absolutely feel helpless.
Going on, it's not just the lack of pilots that is affecting the challenging landscape that writers have found in the industry since the strike concluded in September. The overall volume of U.S. produced live action scripted TV series tumbled 14% from last year, from a high of 600 shows in 2022 to 516 in 2023. FX CEO John Landgraf, who coined the term peak TV, told the Hollywood Reporter in February that the downturn started well before the WGA strike last May. He says, there was a certain amount of inefficiency that was just about a whole bunch of companies entering a space where they had no prior experience. And you can't blame anybody but inexperience for that. Landgraf says of the billions of dollars rival streamers spent on programming in a bid to compete with Netflix, since then, television reporters have been transformed into show Grim Reapers, announcing waves of cancellations and unrenewals, series that were canceled after they had originally been renewed by networks, including Uncoupled, Pitch Perfect, Bumper in Berlin, and A League of Their Own. The Entertainment Community Fund, which provides assistance in the form of funds, workshops, and trainings for those who work in the film and TV industries, has already distributed more than $3.25 million to 1,600 folks from January 1st through March 2022. That's on top of the $18.8 million the ECF handed out in 2023 during the dual work stoppage to 8,500 people, including more than 600 writers. This is bad. The article goes on with more data. It's really distressing to see all of this. I'm going to skim through, but
let me just bring up that
please.
One of the unintended consequences of the strikes were the fact that the studios were locked into shows that they had to produce.
Yes,
and what the strike allowed them to do was cancel those shows. It gave them reason to say, these shows we don't want to produce. Well, now we can legally not produce them and not pay the people who are contracted to do that. And that's, I hate to say it, but Gary mentioned it a few times, but they played into the studio's hands at this point. And again, it's sad.
The link is in the description for the story, but I'll read. And so you can read the complete story. A lot of it is going through data. I mean, the DoorDash thing. Hey, your DoorDash driver, be nice. It could be a showrunner on Showtime or at Disney. Stay alive till 25 was the advice given to emerging writer Corbeil, the former finalist for the Disney TV Writing Fellowship, by her reps. Corbeil believes she's ready to be staffed on a show, but has been hearing it's really tough to get emerging writers jobs since the strike ended. What did we talk about? All the emerging writers are going to be the first to go.
Yep.
And they were the ones most enthusiastic about striking. In the meantime, she remains open to assistant jobs, and she's pitching pilots to channels that are buying, like Hallmark and Lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Selling a pilot can pay your bills for a year, she says. Ending with this, I think the current lull is temporary, says one studio chief. There are a lot of shows and outlets that need writers, and Netflix needs to keep feeding the beast. Many of the dozens of writers and executives the Hollywood Reporter polled are indeed optimistic that things will pick up again toward the end of the current 2023-24 broadcast season, when networks will begin buying scripts to develop for the future. Networks are going to need shows, and streamers will need shows because original series are what brand them, says a studio insider. I don't know that networks can go until 2025 without buying. They just won't be buying as much. Well, that is wow. All of that is really sad. Let's go to your let's go to your comments and questions here. I'm just like, none of this is a surprise.
Yeah.
Now we just have a lot of info, but none of this is a surprise.
Well, it's the sad thing is, we knew this was going to happen, and now it's happening, and we're watching it, and it's being validated in the mainstream media.
Link to the complete story will be in the description. Let's go here, starting with Heinlein for $6.99. Alamo Drafthouse is being shopped around. I can think of two guys to run it. Tweet Elon. Oh, is that true? Alamo Drafthouse. Alan, could you look that up while I read some more? Is the Alamo Drafthouse really for sale? I know the owner, Tim League. He started the original Alamo Drafthouse in Austin, Texas. It's an amazing brand. So, wow.
Yeah, they're exploring a sale.
Wow, that's sad. And I have to tell Rob Burnett, who just tried to call me, that I'm on a live stream. Yeah. Sorry, Rob.
It says, according to Deadline, Alamo Drafthouse is up for sale. There are no bidders for the movie theater chain yet, nor is there a clear asking price.
We saw the death of the ArcLight Cinema. Regal filed for bankruptcy. I think it really is fewer people are going to the movies. And also, by the way, Alamo Drafthouse is great, but it's not I love that you can go there and get a meal and a drink and whatever. Yeah.
Look, it's not.
I hope they survive.
It's not that people aren't going to the movies. It's the movies we're getting.
Yeah,
because the money is there. Again, I keep mentioning it. What if the Marvels was good? What if everything Marvel had put out was good? What if everything Star Wars had put out was good? People would see them. The fan base would have continued to support it at this point. And instead it was crap, and then they lashed out at their audience. So no, I don't buy the fact that audiences aren't going to the movies.
Bruce Leroy Jenkins for $5 says, if a gay woman POC can't get a job in woke Hollywood, who out-Twofered them? An unhoused trans migrant handy-capable writer. Absolutely. I think that's exactly what happened. Thank you, Bruce Leroy Jenkins. John Thomas, Script Doctor talked about these people. They don't have jobs because they can't write.
Exactly.
Yes, experience matters. Helios ending for 2 says, have you guys discussed the Romeo and Juliet casting? We have not. I actually don't have a problem with it that much. I think it's just we might be overreacting to it because of current day. That's not new. It's actually not new to have I actually also don't care. It's a stage play. I'm not while I personally love a Broadway play every once in a while, I'll never see it. So we haven't discussed it, but thank you for asking.
And my thing is, do we yet need another adaptation of Romeo and Juliet?
It's just in current day, when you do that, it's oh yeah. Red French Moon says, also, even if you can't write in art creation, they never really was job security, only for a few. Yeah. Valiant Renegade says, elections have consequences. The cost of living there as a result. You have no idea. You have no idea. By the way, I used to go out to eat a lot, not anymore. And fast food, they just raised the price, minimum wage. All prices of fast food have risen in California.
Yes. prices have gone up and the serving size has gone down.
Yeah, what is it? There's shrinkflation, but there's also a bunch of other ones like that other terms. The cost of living there is a direct result, and many of the same people who can't afford it now, as their industry contracts, may need to look in the mirror. Draenor says, how could we have predicted that people just want to watch the golden age television and not new crap? Yeah, absolutely. Richard S says, I host a local coding group in Los Angeles. We have almost 10 TV and film people show up wanting to learn to code. No joking.
Well,
wow.
Get in line behind the miners.
Wow. That is amazing. Look, I had a friend who said, I'm just going to culinary school. Mm-hmm. That's great. Well, I'm not saying that's great. I'm saying not shocking. From Rumble Rant, Caveat Ties supporter Ties says, how much of the problem
for $2?
For $2. I don't need to. Do you want to read the chats, Alan?
I'm just saying, if they paid for it, you shouldn't say it all.
Yeah. Thank you, Caveat Ties. I'm not gonna try to gore you. Don't try to ing me. How much of the problem stem from, since it's so easy for creatives to share their voice, it becomes harder for individuals to stand out from the crowd? True. Mm-hmm. More here. We're going to get through all these. We have our special guest that's going to be joining us. We're going to go 5 more minutes on these or less, and then we're going to get to our special guest, Rod Blackhurst, filmmaker who is waiting in the wings right now to tell us about his movie. Looking forward to that. So appreciate it. Waiting in our digital green room. That's an actual thing. Alan, could you read this one?
So if the Writers Guild,
read the name.
Ayav Nodish. Ayav Nodish. Is that how that's pronounced?
No, try it again.
Ayav Nodish.
It's a hard C.
I have no dick. What?
So if the Writers Guild didn't help, then what was the point of having a Writers Guild? A lot of people were saying that. A lot of people were saying that
the DEI stuff. I kept saying, why are you paying dues into a guild that doesn't protect you, right, or that won't get you work?
Pirate Queen, who's a member, has a great avatar of, it looks like Wonder Woman on a rocking horse. Thank you for that, Pirate Queen. I'm shocked. Well, not that shocked. Patrick Lemire goes on to say, so the checkboxes are being unchecked. You had a good run, Patrick Lemire. And Justin channels, a fraction of the projects that once existed. Coup era policies and strikes have supremely gutted the output of Hollywood. That is 100% true. And Patrick Lemire says, ending with this chat, the Hollywood Reporter, we report things as news that Film Threat said years ago. Yeah, it happens. But there you go. We will put the link to this article in the description. Now it's time for a quick pivot as we introduce our special guest for today. Trying to find an appropriate video here. Let's do it. You asked for it. We're bringing you filmmakers to tell you about their independent movies. You can ask them questions. So prepare your questions for Rod Blackhurst. Let's get into it for our interview. Hey, Rod, welcome to the show. Good to have you here. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me. Long-time listener, first-time caller, as it goes.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations on your movie, Blood for Dust. I mean, an incredible cast. I'm going to share screen because I want to show some stuff from the film. I don't think we can play the trailer for audio. We might get copyright. But tell us about the movie.
Yeah, so Blood for Dust is a crime thriller about a father trying to navigate the myth of the American dream and going to great lengths to take care of his family. We wrote this film about 7 years ago, right after our first independent film did well at Tribeca. And it took a long time to make the second movie because that's just how Hollywood goes. And so here we are. Yeah, the cast is incredible. It's a dream team of actors that I love and worked for a long time to get to know and corral all these people together to go up to Montana about in the winter of 2022, right? So that's about a year and a half ago. So very glad to have the film coming out now.
Wow. And what were first of all, I have to ask you how you got this incredible cast. I mean, look at this. You've got Kit Harington. I mean, amazing. Josh Lucas, Stephen. I've always loved Stephen Dorff. I just think he's awesome. How did you pull together? And Scoot McNairy is, I think he's great. He's in Monsters by Gareth Edwards. He's also in Batman v Superman. But how'd you pull together this amazing cast?
I mean, sometimes I have to pinch myself truly, but this film wouldn't have happened actually if I hadn't met David Gordon Green at South by Southwest in 2012. I had a short film that played there with Dave Franco and Chris Mintz-Plasse, and David Gordon Green was handing out his email address at a filmmaker's meet and greet, and I very quickly wrote it down, and I worked up the courage to write him. And it maybe took me a year or two, and that started a small relationship that I had with him. And he was very kind. And I had another movie that I thought would be perfect for Scoot. And he had asked me, "Hey, who would you like to have in this movie?" And I mentioned Scoot. And he said, "Well, hey, I'm about to be on the set of this movie, Our Brand is Crisis, that he made with Scoot McNairy." And he asked if he could mention me and the film. And that film never came together, never worked out. But I think he put enough of me into Scoot's ear that one day, many years later, I got a phone call sitting here on my porch in Nashville. I got a phone call from Scoot McNairy, and he'd said he'd watched both of my first films, and he really liked what I was doing and the type of filmmaker that I seemed to be, and he wanted to talk. And from there, it still took about another 4 years for the movie to come together. But I mention all this, and trying to tell the story very linearly, but the reality is making any independent film and trying to get any cast together is just the process of getting to know people, being honest, and sharing yourself with them. And it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time if you don't know famous people and you don't have access and you can't get, behind the doors. It just takes a lot of legwork, a lot of gumption, and a lot of honesty and integrity, I think, to get to these people. I mean, I only met Stephen Dorff, who also lives here in Nashville, because Scoot at one point said to me, maybe in 2020 or 2021, he goes, "Man, do you ever run into Dorff around town?" And I go, "Well, I'm like, no, I'm not running into Stephen Dorff around town. I don't call him Dorff. I don't know the man." He's like, yeah, he's like, man, he moved back there, and Stephen has a strong connection to the Music City. His father was a very well-known songwriter, and his brother died tragically here. And so anyway, I went ahead and I wrote Dorff's longtime agent at the time, and I said, "Hey, Scoot says I need to reach out and be in touch and meet up with Stephen Dorff." And cut to like a year later, my wife's in the post C-section recovery room at Vanderbilt, and the phone rings with a blocked number. And my wife says, "Hey, you should pick that up. It might be the midwives calling," because sometimes the midwives number would come from a blocked number, no caller ID. So there she is. She's all medicated up. She's happy because she's still on all the drugs to give birth to our second daughter. And I pick up the phone. "Rod, it's Stephen." And I'm like, "Stephen who?" And this is literally the day my second daughter was born. He's like, it's Dorff. Like, I heard you wanted to get together or something like this. And I was like, "Man, listen, I really hate to do this, but I'm gonna have to call you back." And that was the year that we made Blood for Dust. So that just became a friendship. And we went over to his house and had a big bonfire. And like, again, but I tell you all this, and I'm not doing a great job of laying it all out, but like, it takes time to put a cast like this together. It takes, like, I don't know, maybe I hope being a good person and having good ideas. And I think people start to see that and they coalesce around you.
Well, just to be clear, you're not in Hollywood. You're in Nashville.
Yes, sir. I'm right here.
Oh my God. It's one of the cities on my short list that I'm considering when I make my Cal exit, Nashville and surrounding area, because also what I love about Nashville is change of weather.
This is just seasons, right?
Yeah, you get seasons. You're in the middle of the country. I grew up in the Midwest in Detroit, Michigan. So I love change of seasons. Fall, I like the winter. I don't know. I grew up kind of an indoor kid, like to read a good book. Speaking of that, Stephen Dorff first came to my attention when he was in a movie called SFW. This was in the mid 90s. In 94, he played a character named Cliff Spab. It is a weird, before social media and all this crazy internet stuff, about a guy that's sort of locked locked in like a 7-Eleven, and it's his sort of ramblings. The book is fantastic. The movie is okay, but Stephen Dorff is fantastic in it. And I love that book in the 90s, SFW. I'm not sure if other people remember it, but what can you say? But I love the fact that like you're in Nashville and you're making movies. You're proof you don't need to go to Hollywood. And I want to say, we have over 1,500 people watching us live right now. We do have a lot of questions for you, but I have two quick questions before we go to our people watching live. One is, how do you do what you do in Nashville? How do you make a film career not in Hollywood?
Well, I lived in Hollywood for a hot minute, and I lived in New York. We lived in New York for a hot minute. And what I found there was that people were more interested in talking about all the things they were going to do, and they never did any of it. And it really like created this toxic energy in this culture that wasn't around the actual creation of great ideas. And it had nothing to do with whether or not you were a good person and could have great ideas. And I found it to be, frankly, overwhelming, stifling. Like it was, the energy was terrible, at least for me. And for a lot of people, it does what they needed to do. So my wife and I kind of looked at that, and we realized like all the negativity that came with that, and we took a chance on going somewhere else back in 2017. And really, like, to be fair, I had made 2 films while living in New York City. The first 2 films I made was this independent feature, Here Alone, that won the Audience Award at Tribeca that year. It was the only midnight film to ever win the Audience Award. Got great distribution. And I made this documentary called Amanda Knox that Netflix put out. And because I had those 2 films in my back pocket, I was able to take the leap and say, hey, we're going to go elsewhere. And really, for our health, for our family, for our souls, for our spirit. And it actually has been easier to make films while living here. You don't have to live in those places to be a great filmmaker. You just have to have good ideas and be a good person.
Wow. And then how did you pull the project together? You're being trusted with a lot of money. I mean, this movie didn't cost nothing. I mean, it's not $100 million, but it didn't cost, it's looking like north of 10 mil. How do you?
Oh my God, that's so kind.
It looks expensive. It looks expensive to me.
Yeah. Thank you for the kind words. Like, truly. I mean, the first film we made cost $176,000, and it's a miracle that it exists. And part of the problem, though, became people thought it had cost $1 million, and they said, well, for $1 million, why didn't you have more background extras? Why didn't you have more stunts, more special effects? And I was literally saying, like, well, half of those people are my producing partner Noah Lang and me, like, running around in the background, and the other half of the time, it's like we tried to find people on Craigslist, they didn't show up, and there's an interesting balance there between like making films for nothing and also wanting them to look incredible, right? So thank you for the kind words about Blood for Us. We had much less than $10 million. But to pull this film together, really, it took meeting Scoot. Scoot was incredible, like wanted to play the part. Everybody said they couldn't make the movie with Scoot McNairy. Everybody passed on the movie. Everybody passed on the movie for the same reasons you hear. Either people said, we've got a movie exactly like that in development, none of which have ever come out. Which is like, if I had a dime for every time I've heard that, or they'd say, well, Scoot McNairy has no foreign sales value. So some of that then became, well, okay, we've got Scoot. He's an incredible actor. And once we were able to start connecting with other actors who wanted to be in a movie with Scoot, that to them was invigorating and exciting. They loved him as a fellow thespian. And that's really what allowed us to get the project to Kit Harington and to Josh Lucas. And once that trio was involved, that was it. We were able to find financing through, a foreign pre-sales debt-driven model, which, it really was, hung on the back of Kit and Josh. And I'm grateful for them for loving the movie and loving me and loving Scoop. But like, it wouldn't have been made if I couldn't get those guys onto the project.
Wow. Let's go to the comments and questions here from the 1,500 people in the audience watching. Super chat here from Red Pilled Rants for 199, who's a member, says, holy crap, just watch the trailer, looks great. And from Rumble, we are live on Rumble. $8.24. How much attention funding does an actor like Kit Harington attract from financiers, both domestically and abroad?
This is a great question. I don't know the true answer. I mean, I think that like it's relative to probably the type of film that it is, and there's the term packaging gets thrown around, right? So it's not just Kit Harington. It's like a holistic overview of the material, the director, the producer, the script, the other people involved. But I mean, again, like we all hear about this, like the foreign sales driven model is a model that gets talked about everywhere, and it is a real thing, right? So it's up to those individual markets to determine what the value of that movie is, like relative to what they think they can sell or make. And then even then it's a conservative estimate. There's no, because of course people are mitigating their risk, and they don't want crazy exposure for their financing. So I don't know the answer outright, but it's different on every single project. But certainly, like, very well-known actor, very visible, incredible human being, truly a wonderful man, a father of two. Like, but that has nothing to do with sales value. It just has everything to do with being a good guy.
Solomon Thornton asks, "Greetings, Sir Rod. Congratulations on your film. Love the cast. Any advice for beginning filmmakers?"
Yes, and I'm going to steal from Ira Glass here. Ira Glass talks about something called the gap, and the gap that is this thing that exists between the idea you have and the execution of it. And when you're first starting out, there's a big gap that exists. You think you're capable of this, and oftentimes you fall short. And recognizing the ability, or recognizing that that's not an indicator of anything other than like there will be growth ahead, and don't throw those things away. And if you can see the gap closing, and in time the idea that you have is the thing you execute, that means you're on the right track. And pay attention to that gap, right? And I think that gap comes from growth, trying things, failing at things, trying new things. And so I would just I talk about this all the time with all my friends. I'm like, man, mind the gap. Like the gap is important to pay attention to, and it really is a good barometer of like how you're doing and what you're doing.
Wow. And then a super chat here from Tim Sheehy for 10. Thank you, Chris. Was a fan since Video Games Magazine. Wow, that's like in the 90s. Used to work at Sci-Fi at G4. Your info was still in the CMS when I got there. Shout out to Rob. Can't wait to check out Blood for Dust. That's great. Thank you, Tim. That's very generous. Appreciate it. Hey, I'll run into you if you're still around the area. From Rumble, Adelis24, what was it like seeing your incredible short film Night Swim get a studio feature remake?
Oh, this is such a crazy story. So back in 2014, my friend Bryce McGuire and I developed the short film that we made in Michelle Branch's backyard when I was living in Los Angeles. Michelle Branch, the pop star, had a pool, and she was a friend, and we called her up, and we just wanted to make something scary. And we developed this feature film idea that became this studio picture that Atomic Monster bought and put together, and eventually Blumhouse and Universal took over from Atomic Monster, and then they joined forces and made this film together. That film is my ride or die, like homie for life, Bryce McGuire's baby, that he got to direct. Again, developed by Witchcraft, our company, and based on the short film we wrote. Bryce and I had sort of made this pledge to each other that we would make two films. We developed two films, one for him to make and one for me to make. We sold mine to Amblin, and it got put on the shelf because of some Amblin restructuring in the way they were doing business. And so Bryce got his studio movie over the finish line first, and I'm holding out hope that like eventually I'll be able to rescue this movie from Amblin and make it somewhere else. But it's a remarkable thing to watch your movie on the big screen. Truly, like I went to the Regal here in Nashville, and with my wife and two of our friends, and you see your name up there, and it's everything you wanted as a kid. And you go, man. Sometimes the reviews are hard, and the judgments are hard, but who cares? You know what? Like I fought, and I lived to fight another day. I learned a lot, and I'm going to apply that to the next film. So very, very, very cool and humbling process.
Here's probably an easy question, which is from Caveat Ties supporter from Rumble. How did you get permission or permits to access areas in Montana to film?
Great question. So of course, like we had like a traditional permitting process. Like we worked with the Montana Film Commission, which at the time had a great tax rebate. I think they've used it all up now, unfortunately. But this is like the locations in Blood for Dust were only possible because of this young mid-20s location scout named Thomas Story. Thomas Story is a fifth or sixth generation Montanan. His ancestor, going 5 or 6 generations back, was the inspiration for Lonesome Dove, and he had driven all those cattle up to Montana from Texas after the Civil War, and he had settled in the Paradise Valley. Well, the Story family are storied and are legendary and know people everywhere, and everybody has sort of married into the storied family: legislators, politicians, elected officials, just business owners. So everywhere we went, Thomas Story, in his wool jacket, like far more warmer than any of us who were not used to like the freezing cold of Montana. Thomas Story knew somebody, and that name opened doors everywhere we went. Like, we were able to get access to these incredible places that like you almost can't design, and you can't build from scratch, because they're lived in and they're real and they're authentic. And the film looks incredible, and those locations look incredible because of this one guy who just like we lucked into as our location scout and location manager and guru. So film wouldn't be what it is without that guy.
It's one of those things where it's like, I think almost every state has its own film commission. They really want you to make a movie in their state. So take advantage of it. You can find all this information online if you're considering a movie. And Montana, I've only been there once. It's so beautiful. It's stunning. It's to me, it's unbelievable space. Couple more questions here from Rumble. Ellis24. What was it like taking the film on the festival circuit last year?
Yeah, Blood for Dust premiered at the Tribeca Festival, which, as it's now called, in I think it was June of last year. And long story short, like when we had made our first film and we had won that audience award, we had privately vowed amongst ourselves, and I think we mentioned it out loud to Kara, the program at the time, who's now the festival director. We may have said this excitedly at that like awards banquet where we were handed that award. We said, no matter what film we make next, we're going to bring that back here, because that was the first festival that saw us, the first festival that gave us any attention, that put us on the map. It allowed us to have any of our careers in a different way. And so with Blood for Dust, we looked at the window of festivals that the film could potentially play. And there were maybe 3. There were Tribeca, TIFF, and Venice, and maybe Telluride, but Telluride is almost impossible to get into unless you're a celebrity-driven project or already pegged as a prestige awards-driven project. So we looked at, there were 3 festivals because the distributor needed the movie handed to them right after Venice or right after Telluride. And we looked at it and we thought, you know what, like we had made this vow, we had made this pledge to Tribeca that no matter what movie we made next, at what scale, what budget, we would come back home. Because at the time I'd also been living in New York City, and my producing partner Noah had been too. And it felt like the right thing to do. So we actually screened an unfinished version of the movie. The VFX were, temporary. The movie was 10 minutes longer than it is now. But for us, it was the way to get it out into the world. And it felt like the right thing. Again, given that we needed to hand the movie over to the distributor. Now, once the strikes started happening, the release date got pushed back. So in reality, we could have maybe waited and tried to play a fall festival. But going to Tribeca was awesome. Again, it was like a homecoming. And then truly like one of the most incredible experiences I've had as a filmmaker was getting to bring Blood for Dust to the Deauville American Film Festival in Deauville, France. And it's both a remarkable festival that cares so much about cinema and so much about the artistry and the filmmakers behind it. And I've grown up speaking French. My mother was a French teacher. My wife's French grandmother was in the French Resistance as a teenager. So it was awesome to be able to go there and to get on stage and like do a Q&A in French in front of 1,200 people. It's like, it's like a childhood dream come true. I'm getting very emotional about it. So I think that just grateful for those festivals and that visibility, right? Because those are the people that really love cinema and that then become the advocates for your movie and your artistry later. And I love film festivals. Even right now, Blood for Dust is about to go screen in a week and a half at the Phoenix Film Festival. And the Phoenix Film Festival had screened some of the first work I ever did. I was a DP on my friend Chris Sikorsky's film Golden Days, about the band the Damwells, who had their lives imploded by a record label fiasco. So I just always, for me, it's also about always trying to go back to the people that cared for you, the people that showed up for you and paid attention to you, and show them that you love them and care about them in return. Couple questions here. Helios ending for 2 says, whose idea was it to include You Know Nothing, Ricky? That's not a lot. That's definitely not a line in the movie, but I mean, it's clearly someone is making a Jon Snow joke here, so I can appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a Jon Snow joke.
There's a funny little thing in the in the trailer, and it's in the movie too. Like Kit Harington's character is named Ricky. Ricky hands Scoot McNairy's character Cliff a business card at one point, and it's clearly a front for Ricky's operation, whatever Ricky's operation is. Like, I'm not going to spoil it, but you can see it in the trailer. It says Ricky's snow removal, and my production designer Rob Ebeltoft like had this idea, right? He showed me the business card in prep, and we looked at each other and we didn't say anything, right? We both knew a little bit, and then when I handed it to Kit on the day, he looked at it. He looked at it because he has to give it to Scoot in a scene prior. He looked at it and he goes, "Yeah," and that was it. Never talked about it. I'd like to think that like he understood like the fun we were having with him.
And last question, and I'll piggyback on this. Jimmy Francis, because we have an international audience that watches our YouTube show live. Jimmy Francis asks, "Is the film available here in Europe?" And my follow-up is, available. When is it available everywhere?
Yeah, so the film comes out domestically in North America April 19th. It's day and date release, so in some limited theaters, and I believe you can buy it for 2 weeks, and then there's a very long like rental window before eventually it'll probably hit a streaming service in the fall. It is coming out in Europe. Every country is a little different. Like, for example, I know that the UK release is maybe 2 weeks after April 19th. I should probably have these dates in front of me, and there's probably a publicist somewhere. It's trickling out in other territories slightly after the North American release, but coming soon, here in a couple weeks.
Well, congratulations, Rod. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Part of what we're trying to do is we're trying to educate our audience to say there's an alternative path to going Hollywood. You can break out as an indie filmmaker and put together a project, and you can be in Nashville, Tennessee. If you don't mind, if I come out there, I'd love to meet up if you're available, which would
Absolutely.
be, I would love it. And congrats on the film. I hope to have you back when your next movie comes out.
I'd be honored, truly. Like I'm a longtime listener. Like, so I'm grateful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. All right. Take care, Rod. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks again.
You well.
Congrats.
Thank
Later.
you. Yep.
Bye. That was great.
Yeah.
It was great. He was fantastic. What can you say?
And not in Hollywood.
And not in Hollywood. I think that's actually kind of a key thing. So
yeah.
Let's we're going to wrap up the show here. We got a few more super chat questions. Don't want to miss those. Nicholas Vargo, member for 5 months. To all, become a member. It's worth the $2 a month. And guess what? Someone just took your advice. Terry, I became a YouTube member. And I want to make sure to say thank you to our mods. Lord Thoth, Gridiron Masters. Want to thank Ms. Peacoffee and Glenn Brown. Glenn might be watching. I know Ms. Peacock.
What? What did you say?
That was a mistake. Do not take that out of context. Peacoffee. And hey, Tim Shee became a member. Thank you, Tim. Oh, that's great. And maybe I'll run into you around town. That's so cool that you were at G4. You knew Video Games Magazine. That is some old school. That's crazy. And Eric Stratton, member for 15 months, says, imagine the technical companies that planned and built rides at Disney recently. Wonder if they had to be full DEI. Wonder if stuff had to be redone. This is a problem. And thank you for that, Eric, for being a member and always contributing great questions. And I want to say also thanks to everyone in the chat who stuck around for the Rod interview. We had a lot of people from Valiant, Rated. This is what we do at Film Threat. We want to bring you filmmakers who make movies because I hope it inspires you. So, I think this is going to be a problem that America as a country is going to have to confront. That overall quality at all levels in all industries is dropping because of a rush that may not lead to good things. That's all I'll say. Yeah. And look, Gun Ho Mac pointing out the obvious. Disney today would say Space Mountain is racist. because it's too dark inside.
That's right.
And Justice Film says, great interview, quality first. That should go on anything that you do. Even in like some of the worst jobs I've ever had. I've had some terrible jobs. I cared about doing a good job because I took pride in things I do. We have a distracted society because of black mirrors that we all carry around. We you know, we have a lot of people have jobs they don't care about. And we've got to get back to people really caring about the work that they do.
You're honestly saying that pride and excellence, even in the smallest things, might actually get you jobs?
Yeah. Solomon Thornton, my professor, told me this years ago. Greatness takes time.
Mm-hmm.
And Terry I says, hey, really, really enjoyed today's show and chat community. And thank you for that. No, we're trying to foster a community where like, we talk about the news stories we know that like other channels talk about, and we offer our own perspective, sometimes insider perspective. We talk about movies that are big mainstream movies. We also talk about little small indie movies you never would have heard of. And I'll tell you, Friday is jam-packed.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about Friday's show. We're gonna first of all look at the new episode of Comic Shop. There's going to be a bonus episode. Apparently, Alan finally makes an appearance. We've got reviews of The First Omen, Monkey Man, A Cat's Life, The Beast, The People's Joker, Chicken for Linda. That's one on us. Kim's Videos is in theater. I really want to see that documentary. And we have legendary indie filmmaker Larry Fessenden is joining us to talk about his movie Blackout. Friday is going to be jam-packed. One last thing before we wrap it up for today. So a lot of movies. Yes. Oh my God. Full House on Friday, says Lord Thoth. It will be. What do you think about moving all of our shows to 11 a.m.? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. 2-hour shows. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 11 a.m. So we're taking versus moving it back. We're keeping Hollywood on the Rocks is just going to be the same time. And that way it's just less confusing. I'm putting this out because I'm telling this to Alan, which I can tell by the surprise on his face. He may or may not like it.
Because you're moving the nooner to a place where you won't get time in between the two shows.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah, I'll have to change it. Maybe we change it all to noon. I don't know. All I'm saying is that maybe we're kind of all over them. Like we have these shows and they're all different times on different days. Maybe it's just all on maybe it's noon. Maybe we're just live at noon on Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
My only thing is we've been doing this for 2 years and we've kind of set our lives to these schedules, and moving around, there will be pains taking place if we move.
Well, all I can say is this. Ng just got gored just now. Hey, I didn't mean it to be a gore. So we're not going to make any changes without we'll do like a notice if we even do it. But talk about it on Discord. I haven't been on Discord in a while. My apologies, folks. I have been so busy. Thank you, Jimmy Francis, Red French Moon. I see all the people in here. 96 to Alan. There you go. Final super chat here. My apologies. Chris Nicholson for 5 says, I'll admit that today was rough. The way that the winds in Hollywood seem to be changing, I really thought that the Disney vote would go our way. Well, I don't know that our way. Thank you, Chris. It's generous and I appreciate it. I don't think it was ever. I think it was set up to go the way it went.
Mm-hmm. But it should be a warning. It should be a warning that it even got to this point.
Yeah, but I don't think there'll be any change. I think we're stuck with this, and I don't think our beloved franchises. I think nothing's going to change. But
Hollywood is not the dream. Hollywood is not the dream.
Independent film will be the dream. That's it for us today, Alan. Anything you're going to see? The Beast. I'm going to see some other movies that you're not going to see. Anything else?
Not that I can think of. I'm so burnt out on the D file because I've been working on it for 2 days straight.
Oh, that's great though.
So what am I doing? I have no idea. I'll figure it out.
Well, there you go. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone. See you on Friday. That's it. And Alan,
Let's get out of here.
wait, say it again.
Oh, dear God. Let's get out of here.